Welcome. You have tuned in to the True Disciples broadcast. My name is Pastor Kevin Baird, and I am your host, and I want to welcome you today to the broadcast. It is our intention to inspire you, to educate you, to challenge you, and hopefully for some of you, especially today, to help you cross the line and to activate you into a confidence of taking your Christian faith into the public arena and engaging your culture. My expertise in this area has come mostly experientially, but as a pastor, I have been a college professor. I've been an academic dean. I've been conference speaker. I am the executive director of the South Carolina Pastors Alliance, a network now. They're telling me of nearly 300 churches here in the state of South Carolina that are working together for the causes of faith, family, and freedom. And as you are probably well aware, I am a pastor of a local church in Charleston, South Carolina, Legacy Church, and it's my privilege to pastor a growing, wonderful group of people here in this location. I want to just take a moment and remind you that there are ways to contact us, and we want you to be able to do that. You can keep up with us in all sorts of social media venues. You can check us out on our websites at legacychurchsc.org, or you can go to scpastorsalliance.net. Both Legacy Church as well as the South Carolina Pastors Alliance are sponsors of this program, and it may be that you'd like to sponsor this program. In fact, as we are doing our best to give voice and articulate an evangelical Christian viewpoint, there are many business people who are Christian businessmen, and they run their businesses according to Christian precept, and they're finding it extremely difficult in these days in order to operate their businesses with Christian values and precept, being forced under Obamacare and other things to provide abortion services for their workers, and that's just something that's not on the grid or in the mind of a passionate evangelical Christian. And so a program like this may be exactly what you're looking for in order to help articulate your view, because we're doing our best to help people understand what's at stake, to help people better understand, perhaps evangelicals, and obviously reaching out, because we believe there are a lot of people out there who carry the same values, and to have a place where they can network and connect is always a good thing. So we invite you to take a look at those websites. You might also want to find us on Facebook at Legacy Church or the South Carolina Pastors Alliance. We're on Twitter at Pastor Baird, or reach us by email. You can do that through either of those websites, or go to legacychurchsc@aol.com. And we would love to be in contact with you. And if you would love to support us, we want to talk with you and perhaps even mention you on this broadcast. Well, I just want to make mention to those of you that follow along closely that today was to be the second installment of a leadership discussion, and we will be playing that program here in the next week or two. But we, with our recording schedule, sometimes find important cultural issues that need addressing or spoken to quickly. And today is one of those days, so we're just going to sort of spontaneously step out of the program mode. And I just want to bring some commentary, and I want to share with you some things that have been happening in the Charleston area and region, and let you know what's taking place, and hopefully you might want to be activated in order to help us press through some issues that we find ourselves in with regards, in particular, to the pro-life movement. Now, it probably comes as no surprise to those of you that are listening that Dr. Baird would be a pro-life advocate. I am a cultural engager. I believe there are numerous issues that need the voice of biblical worldview and evangelical Christianity. Our voice is as valued, or should be as valued, as any voice that comes to the table. You have heard me often say that nothing's neutral. Everybody has a perspective. Everybody has a worldview. And so when someone looks at me and says, well, don't shove your religion down my throat, or religion has no place in the public discussion, truthfully, that's really not true, because everybody brings their beliefs, they bring their values. Sometimes they bring their religion that helps shape people's values. They bring their heartfelt beliefs to the public discussion, and they make the best case for them in the public arena. And in America, still to this day, we believe that the best ideas win. And so we believe that the evangelical voice, pro-life voice, has an important message and statement to make in the cultural realm of ideas. Well, Charleston, like many places, obviously have pro-lifers, and obviously there are people who are involved in the pro-life debate. Most of you, again, are aware that the debate over life is not new. In 1973, the Supreme Court, through Roe v. Wade, determined that it was a constitutional right under what they thought the conundrum of the Privacy Act. They thought it was a woman's right to be able to terminate her pregnancy. And for the last 40 years, because the Supreme Court stepped into this and they did not really allow a public discussion, no philosophical discussion, no ethical discussion, no moral discussion, certainly no religious discussion. This has been one of the most contentious debates our nation has continually gone through. People are passionate on both sides of this particular debate. And obviously, being one of a biblical mindset, a Christian worldview, it comes as no surprise that I would hold to a pro-life position. The Bible teaches a pro-life position. However, when it comes to public policy, I realize not everyone adheres to the Bible as its final authority, as I do. However, that being said, I think that there are incredible reasons, both socially, morally, ethically, biologically, philosophically, all of these arenas to come to the pro-life position. As a matter of fact, I believe because of technology and other abilities to be able to reach in and see what is going on inside of the womb, that we're finding out more and more that the baby is indeed a human being feeling pain. And more and more, we're finding this to be true. And as the technology does nothing but affirm the pro-life position, what we see in our nation is that demographically and statistically, that we are becoming a pro-life nation. In fact, the last poll that I saw taken by several percentage points, when asked the question concerning pro-life and pro-abortion, I noticed that now, statistically in America, we are a pro-life nation. So that's good news, at least in my opinion. And having said that, it tells us that we are making a great argument. We are making obviously a powerful argument, and minds are being changed in this particular area. And so, we are grateful for that. But having said that, at ground zero, and let me just say that I believe this is the ground zero issue of our generation. The reason being is that life, our Constitution says that we've been given by our Creator certain things: the right to life, the right to pursue happiness, liberty rights. And if you don't have life, it really doesn't matter how long the Bill of Rights may be. If you don't have life, it doesn't matter what your constitutional rights may be. If you're not alive to enjoy any of these things, then it really doesn't matter. That is why I believe the right to life is the ground zero issue in our culture today. That if we cannot affirm humanity's value at its most initial, nascent, beginning moments, then we're going to have a hard time making our case as to whether or not we would value human beings in other realms or decisions. I am amazed. Of course, our current administration is not just pro-choice, they're pro-abortion. As far as I'm concerned, our president hasn't really seen an abortion he doesn't like. He has supported partial birth abortion when babies are nearly delivered. at the end of term. He has supported aborting those babies. He has resisted, congressional legislation with regards to abortions that have taken place where babies have been born alive, and for them to be helped or resuscitated or taken to a hospital. He has resisted these things. And so I understand totally that we have an administration right now that is totally against what I'll be sharing with you on this radio program. And with that said, it merely underscores the fact that there's a great debate that is going on all over this nation. But the Charleston area where I live is not without its own debate going on. Many people do not know that here in South Carolina, there are 3 abortion clinics. I think these 3 clinics probably cover in the upstate, all over the state, what we would know as the 3 areas. There's the upstate of South Carolina, the Greenville-Spartanburg area. There's the Midlands, the Columbia area, and of course there is what we call the Low Country, where I live here in Charleston, South Carolina. Unfortunately, we have the dubious distinction of having in our community the largest abortion provider in the state. It's on West Ashley. It's the Charleston Women's Clinic, and it does primarily and almost exclusively abortions. Don't let Planned Parenthood tell you that there's much of anything else going on. These clinics primarily, almost exclusively, do an abortion business. And again, girls are going in, having abortions from its earliest stages up to and including, as I understand it, 16 weeks. And so that being said, it's no surprise that we're in the midst of a great debate on the streets and the airwaves and in all sorts of ways with this great national issue. And so many pro-lifers, including myself, will find ourselves on the street doing our best to exercise our First Amendment rights by being there. People call it a protest. I call it an awareness. People just are not aware what is going on over, close to 3 times a year here in the Low Country. Now, if you begin to do the addition on that, if they're doing abortion services 3 times a week, and they're doing close to 3,000 a year, that's 1,000 abortions every week, 50 weeks out of the year, 200 during the week. That's a lot of abortions taking place. And mostly, we know that there are convenience abortions taking place. We don't even have to deal with the hard cases yet. Those are statistically small. I'm not saying those wouldn't make an interesting philosophical discussion that we might have one day, but the vast, vast majority of what takes place are pure convenience abortions. And there's a growing group of pro-lifers that want people to know what's going on. And they are peaceful, they are prayerful, they are respectful, and they have been certainly all of this in the Charleston area. But of course, it's a passionate debate. And recently, we've just had some challenges with regards to being able to present our particular viewpoint on the streets here in the West Ashley area of Charleston in order to let people know in our community what exactly is going on. And what has taken place is that there seems to be a great selectivity with regards to the enforcement of law by the Charleston City Police. Now, I want you to know that I'm a law and order kind of guy. We love and support all of our law officials. In fact, I have a nephew that is a county deputy here in this state. I have friends in law enforcement. I want you to know clearly and unambiguously that I am a law and order kind of guy, and our police officers have a very difficult job to do at times because they're dealing most of the time with the bottom of the barrel when it comes to our society and culture. So I want to make that plain and clear. I have no axe to grind with law enforcement. I have no axe to grind with those who are doing at times a real thankless job. But the issue I do have as of late is that all police departments have to enforce the law without prejudice. They have to enforce the law equally as best as they know how across the board when it comes to all of its citizenry. And what we have found through the years as the pro-life community is that we are asked to meticulously adhere to the law, which we do. When there's rallies, we pull permits. When there's federal decisions out of courtrooms that have been made, we've adhered to what that entailed. There are specific boundaries and lines that have been painted so that everyone knows exactly where the lines, where we can stand, where we can't stand. We're very clear in understanding what the law says with regards to being able to walk on the street, to making sure traffic can flow through, to even making sure that access to businesses are open, even as distasteful and evil as that business may be. The pro-life community has done nothing but uphold its end of upholding the law with regards to what has taken place out there. Now, having said that, there are interesting dynamics that take place because on a fairly regular basis, the police are called out there. In fact, one particular officer told me that whenever we show up out there, it's not an unusual event, I'm told, that the abortion clinic will call 20 times to 911 and give reports that somehow the pro-life community is breaking the law, which is simply not true. And so the police will show up, and as I would expect them to if they were to receive 911 calls, and they will tell us exactly what they feel like we need to hear. And while I want to respect that and respect that they have a hard job as to knowing when or not a call that is coming in could be, the old fable of crying wolf, they don't know whether someone's crying wolf or they're saying what's true. But this happens on a regular basis. And it's reaching the point where all the clinic has to do is call 20 times on 911, the police show up, and then the pro-life community is admonished over and over and over again as to what the legal rules are, rules which have not been broken, rules which have been upheld, but yet it becomes really a form of police hassle. Recently, we held a rally there, and in this rally, we were gathering. Permits were pulled. As a matter of fact, it was made sure that permits were pulled, and a representative from the police department told us that we did not have to carry the permit to the site, that because they had it, they knew about it, there would be no problem. When police officers on the street showed up, unfortunately, they apparently had not communicated within their communication lines. And the officers on the street asked that we would show them the permit. And of course, explain to them that the permit had already been pulled. But there was a reluctancy on their part to believe that. And so as that was beginning to be ironed out, unfortunately in a rather bumpy manner, we got pushed back nearly 30 minutes with regards to the start of our pro-life rally. Now that doesn't sound like much, I understand. Doesn't sound like much to just simply be asked, do you have a permit? And there was a miscommunication. I get that can almost sound trite, but you have to understand what's taken place through the years at this particular clinic. You have to understand that pro-life people peacefully praying within the boundaries of law, exercising their First Amendment rights, we've been assaulted by cars. Cars come by us from people who either work or are associated with the clinic. Cars come by us at an excessive rate of speed. We have had people who've been hit by these automobiles. And even after being hit by these automobiles and assaulted, we were taken and they were taken to court, and nothing really is done with regards to any repercussion with regards of using your car or your vehicle as a lethal weapon. Now we're grateful only one person has ever been hit. There have been numbers that have been grazed. Next, we're told to be careful about not stopping traffic or stepping into the street with regards to any type of awareness campaign. We've always adhered to that, and yet people who are associated or work with the clinic have been found under the eyesight of the Charleston City Police to be walking in the middle of the road while we were just told as pro-lifers to stay off the road, and that that would not be admonished, it would not be ticketed, it would not even be addressed. They would not say a word. And then you have to understand that we've had guns pointed at us. There was several years ago a notable case that took place here in town of one of the doctors coming through and actually pointing a gun at a pro-life, peaceful, prayerful awareness person there on site, pointing a gun at them. And again, when taken to court, just a slight admonishment and minimal fine. And then finally, we have those who work for the clinic who are able to take their license plates off their cars, drive in and out, and all through the streets of Charleston, South Carolina, and not be able to show their license plate. They do this on a continual basis. And again, even in front of the eyes of the city police, there is no enforcement of that law that takes place. In fact, we were told on site that they were told not to enforce that particular law. Now, all I can do is I can only give you a brief synopsis of all the things that have led up to this moment in this radio broadcast, which ostensibly is beginning a two-part discussion. We're going to pick this up next Sunday morning as well, a discussion that says it is time for the city services and city government, the city court, the politicians. It is time for everyone to at least recognize that this is a passionate debate, that there should be a neutrality that enters in with regards to the application and the enforcement of the law. In other words, you can't over-enforce one community and then under-enforce or neglect the other community. We've reached the place in the pro-life community where just me being one of the voices is simply saying at this time that we feel like that city services and the city at large is no longer neutral in this discussion. And I think it's important that the citizenry begin to understand that city services is not neutral. And if you are a pro-life person, that's an incredibly important thing to keep in mind. Now, the reason this is such a passionate issue for me is because as they are enforcing with meticulous accuracy on the pro-life community, our feet not touching the tar of the road in front of us, despite the fact that escorts are walking back and forth on the road. What makes this such a passionate issue is because we believe that inside of the clinic that there are human beings that are actually being killed. We believe that personhood is being extinguished. We believe that this will be defined, the abortion issue is going to be defined as one of the defining historical justice issues within our culture. And so what I'm going to ask, if you're listening today, to do is for you to contact the mayor. Many of us have contacted the mayor. You can contact the chief of police. You can Google that, easily find those email addresses, and you just need to begin to let them know as the citizenry that at the bare minimum, we expect city services to come and to handle everyone appropriately. There has not been one instance of pro-life provocation. What I'm saying is pro-life instigation, pro-life instigation of any assault, of any violence, of anything of this nature. There's not been anything that has taken place that has caused us to be targeted as a group that could be potentially law-breaking. We have extended ourselves in respect. We have extended ourselves trying to adhere to the law as it's been written while we're still exercising our First Amendment rights. But everyone needs to understand this is the defining issue of our era. This is the ground zero issue. And I want you to begin to communicate with our city with regards to selective enforcement, that they cannot be selective in their enforcement, especially in a passionate national debate like this that is going on. And again, the abortion debate is an important debate. It deals with life and death. It deals with, is this a person or is this not a person? It deals with the most rudimentary and fundamental issues of our era. And so it's important for you, if you're a believer listening to me today, understanding what God's word says to you with regards to the protection of the innocent, with regards to our neighbor. Jesus said we were to love our neighbor as ourselves. And listen, these babies that are being extinguished are our neighbor. They're our neighbor. He says that we're to protect and defend the least of these. In fact, if unborn, preborn babies are not the least of these with regards to what Jesus was saying, then we really have lost our Christian mind. And so we need to begin to make vocal and make known exactly what we feel like's happening in this particular area. So at the bare minimum, I would hope some of you that are listening today would begin to send an email, talk to the mayor, the chief of police, say to them, we will no longer stand for selective enforcement. These people, the pro-life community, is standing up and making the community aware of what's going on in that abortuary. That's number one. Number two is you might be one that would be quickened by listening to this broadcast, and perhaps we'll let this spill over into the next one as well. But you may be one that would want to come join us. If we would have enough of the church come join us, this particular notoriety for our county could be taken care of. Listen, we have the largest abortion clinic in the state of South Carolina. I don't know about you, but that's not one thing that I'm necessarily proud of. In fact, you can go to their website. You can begin to see that they'll offer you coupons for abortions. Is that compassion? Is that true help? I really don't think so. I think there are numbers of other ways that we can help these young women who are coming to this place without abortion. I believe there are amazing alternatives that can happen that will leave them whole, that will leave them complete, that will leave them in a place that they'll be glad they made the decision that they made. But this broadcast today is for the sheer purpose of mobilizing many of you to begin to come and join us, I believe, in this 21st century justice issue and justice cause. Now, if you'd like more information, you can contact me. My information is most public. You can contact me at legacychurchsc@aol.com, or you can get me at SC Pastors Alliance at AOL.com as well. In fact, my license plates are on my vehicle. I'm a pastor that's in a pulpit every Sunday, and I preach all over the nation. I'm actually in a sanctified way, kind of proud of the calling that God has put upon my life, and count it a privilege and honor. And I am humbled that I would be a part of this. But there are those who apparently aren't so proud of what they do. And it is time that this all got sorted out. It is time for justice to come to the streets of our city here in Charleston. And I want to encourage you, as this broadcast is quickly coming to an end today, I want to encourage you to be a part of it. Well, that half hour went quickly today, folks. I want to thank you for tuning in to the True Disciples broadcast. We appreciate you listening to us at this radio station at this time. I want to encourage you, though, as you're listening, that until next time, I want you to keep walking the walk, and I want you to keep being a true disciple. We're going to pick it up right here next time. This is Pastor Kevin Baird saying you have a great day. God bless you.